All right, hello. I chose to do a video reflection because I like videos and I can better get my point across versus writing for some odd reason, and I actually like writing. So overall in the class, I absolutely love the class. I do feel like I struggled some with some of the topic areas, and I felt myself giving up, but I didn't quite give up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through certain weeks that stood out to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 10. Those are the weeks that really made a difference in my teaching, as I have been teaching for 6+ years now, and I'm getting back into it because I've been training for a while in between when I started versus now. So week one, um, it made me dig deeper with my purpose of teaching. It really made me think, why am I here? What can I do for my students? How can I make a difference in their life? And it made me think, do I think of myself being religious, or do I think of myself being spiritual? And this wasn't something that I thought of often, and I do think of myself being more of a spiritual person, so I was able to fit that into my work every day. So then week two, it was an eye opener for me with the lesson planning. I have never in a million years seen such detailed lesson plan outlines. And I graduated from IUP 2012. And their lesson plan outlines were not as extensive as Eastern. And I like it because it makes you get deeper and specific as what it is you want to do. And then next, what are you going to do? And then next, after you've done that, now what are you going to do? So it really made me, I guess, do more. The one thing I will say that I didn't like, it was a bit repetitive. Like for the unit shell, a lot of the information in the unit shell was also in the lesson plan. And a lot of the questions, a lot of the questions in the lesson plan the answers were going to be repeated throughout. And for me, that's normal because with kindergarten, as you know, everything is repeated, everything is repetitive. But to have to put it in a lesson plan over and over and over again, um, it was just a bit much. But I enjoyed it, and working as a group, which I've never done, especially for an online course. Um, I liked it. It was a bit harder to get everyone scheduled in at the same time so that we can do a Zoom call, but it was good, and I think we all enjoyed it. The next week that stood out to me was week three, and that's when we worked on the team charters. So coming from doing a working with the group, the team charters, it's a great idea. I think that a lot of companies, not even just in the education field, in other fields, should do team charters because a lot of companies, their employees are not on the same track. Everyone has a different goal in mind. So having a team charter, it will put everybody on the same page. Everybody knows what the goal is. Everyone knows how we're going to achieve that goal. And if there's any questions or concerns, you can revert back to the team charter. And if more needs to be added, it could be added by whoever that leader is. And right now, I am in another program for my doctorate, leadership, organizational leadership. And I'm surprised that this has not come up in none of my courses. And I am in my last course. Um, so it is something that I might put into my dissertation, that a team charter will be beneficial for not just school districts, not just for teachers, but for also administrators and people in the higher up who are not in the education field. Next is for week four, which was difficult for me because I had to relive some harsh moments in my life. If you remember, my moment that stood out to me that was difficult was being a cheerleader for a predominantly white team. And they made the assumption that I would be able to catch on to the dances quickly and that I would be able to do their hair for competition because I am African American. And granted, both of these are to be true, but they are only true because I was taught that by my mother, not because I was African American. I am actually part Irish. So for that, it just hit a sore spot for me because I've always went to schools that were predominantly white. Um, and it never was said out loud to me, and they were even surprised that I didn't have um, thick, as they call it, nappy hair. Um, I have pretty good hair, as we can see. This is my natural, crinkly look. So it took me back a little bit to have to kind of relive it, but it also gave me a chance to think of ways after reading everyone's story, think of ways that I can share these moments with my students and also give them a way to how to defer themselves from it, like how to be that one person that either sticks up for someone who does that or not be the person that does that to someone else based on um, what they look like, based on where they're from, based on the language that they speak, based on how they dress. And we go through that already in society, and we need to teach our students about these experiences in different cultures. And that is one big thing about history is when you teach them history, they know about different nationalities. And I feel like during that time, during cheerleading, I don't feel like they were taught different cultures. Because if they were, they may have or would have approached me in a different way. Next week that stood out to me was week 6. It was extremely interesting. Book talk. Never heard of book talk before. Of course, I've heard of read alouds. I always did read alouds with my students. Even when I taught 4th grade, I did read alouds, and of course, I had them read too. But book talks, I've never heard of that. So when I had to create a video of a book talk, and I actually showed the video to my kids, they were excited. Well, can we listen to that book? Where's that book? I want to know where else. Where do they go? Do they finally meet? Because it was the book about the pen pals who are in 2 different places. They're doing the same thing, but in a different way. Same thing, but different. Same, but different. That was the book. It was interesting to watch everyone else's read aloud and to be able to do my own book talk and actually share it with my class. And then the funny part was they were like, "Wait, Mrs. Wooten, you were here and you videotaped it here and we weren't here." And I was like, "No, I was at home." "Oh, you have a nice house." So that was it led into another conversation. But that is what I found interesting about week 6. Moving on to week 7, it taught me a lot about the networks of schools outside the box, and project learning. So I strongly, strongly, strongly hope that more districts and schools look into project-based learning, because I feel like that how they did it in the different networks that were shown during class, it kept the kids in tune. It kept them wanting to know more. It gave them a goal versus something different every week, which is something we deal with in the school district. Whereas though we're on one topic, and then because we have to stay on pace, it's like we're skipping over information. And with the project-based learning, they're working on one central thing, but they're doing something different that has to do with the whole overline of it. And if that's brought into different schools, especially in public schools and schools that don't have it, I feel like the students will better understand the information that's given to them. They want to know more. They're interested. They are hands-on. Whereas though now, especially in history, it's not hands-on. Is you listen to what is being told to you and that's it. Next thing, so speaking of listen to what's being told to you, the last week that really stood out to me again was week 10, creating a hyperdoc. And the reason being is because I went to private school. Most of my life, I went to private school. And of course, we didn't have hyperdocs. And it was so boring. So boring. And I could just remember sitting in social studies class. Like, if we had hyperdocs, then, which of course that would mean we would have to have internet, computers in the classrooms, which we didn't, I probably would have paid more attention, or I probably would have understood it. And having a hyperdoc is having the students look at these videos and click on different things. You're giving them a task. Whereas before, when I was in school, private school, I went to Ivy League middle school, private school, you had to go to the library and get a book and pick something in the book, put the page number, talk about it, and that was it. There was no proof that you went to the library. There was nothing else. That was it. History was never as interesting as it is today. So creating a hyperdoc, I deleted it at least like 3 or 4 times because I just could not understand how to put everything together. So I went with my gut and what I know best and what I would have wanted to do if I was in kindergarten, and it turned out great. And I actually connected my hyperdoc to my dramatic play area because we used the same thing. So I actually used the hyperdoc in the classroom. I sent it home to my parents, and it was a choice. They could either do it or don't do it. It was up to them. But I wanted to kind of see how it worked out. So it's actually not due until next week. And maybe I'll let you know how it turns out. But that is my reflection. And I kind of, everything I just said is, I put it in my little takeaway journal. It was just, each week I jotted down what it is that I liked and what stood out to me. So thank you for watching, and thank you for such an amazing class. I enjoyed it, and it was nice. Thank you.